I know what you're thinking. You're going to expose that hole for the valve stem to go through by pulling down on this lever. Trying to manipulate that valve stem into the rim takes an extra hand. So what you can do is get a leg up on the situation to free up both of your hands. When you install the nut on the valve stem, make sure it's only finger tight, leaving the valve stem a lot of room to move around. Before I release this tire iron, I need to make sure that my valve stem is out of the way so I don't pinch it. When I release the tire iron, be careful because it will spring up. Remove the tire iron, protect your inner tube, put the tire iron back where it goes. Now that you have the valve stem and the nut in place, you need to take the inner tube and tuck it inside the tire. You can lift the tire up and gently push the inner tube into the tire. Make sure that you do not twist the inner tube while you're doing this. The inner tube should look flat as such. After you have the tube in the tire, you need to take the inner part of the tube and tuck it into the recess of the rim. Make sure that no tube is sticking up above the rim assembly. When you bring the duck arm in to set the top bead, make sure that you don't pinch the inner tube when you drop the duck and lock it into place. As always, don't forget to lube your bead. Once your bead's lubed, you can push the bead below the head of the duck. Make sure the tire is above the tail and under the head before you rotate. Make sure the tire goes into the recess of the rim to set the bead. When finding the balance dot, always align it up to the valve stem. On a tube type tire, you'll find that you have to overcorrect and then bring it back in order to straighten out the valve stem. Always make sure that the nut on the valve stem is only finger tight and still loose, allowing the valve stem to move freely. When beading the tire, there's a couple different methods. I could put a small amount of air into the tube and then bounce the tire so the tube finds its natural position with the tire. Others state that I'm going to release the air after I bounce the tire in tube assembly and do this several times to make sure it finds its natural position. After I do that, what I'm going to do is inflate the tire to the manufacturer's recommended pressure, reinstall the valve cap, and balance. Also, here's a few tips and tricks for cast wheels. If you're doing a rim on a bike that has a single-sided swing arm, make sure that the face of the rim that has the spokes on it always faces down on the tire machine table. If you install the tire onto the rim and the rim's upside down on the table, you may possibly bend the rim. On ATV rims, make sure that the offset, the shallow part of the rim, versus the deep part of the rim, always faces down on the tire machine. Otherwise, if it's installed upside down, you could possibly bend the rim. Quick note on tires too. Remember, always align the dot on your tire to your valve stem. Not all tires will have a dot on them. Some Metzlers and some Avons, the dot will be colored green, blue, or possibly red. Most commonly, the dot is going to be yellow or white. If the tire has no dot at all, such as this tire right here, that means the tire should be in perfect balance.